Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Hyphens Classics. It's been a very long time. I could get into all the reasons why, excuses, etc, but that'll just take up too much time in the video, and I've got a lot I want to talk about. But very quickly, as you know, I don't have the barn, and a lot of the work you've seen me do, all of the very little amount of work that I have done has been done out in the open somewhere. So this is pretty much where we're at the moment. So, a few updates. You've possibly noticed one already, a few changes, what I'm sitting in, and we will get to that. But I think, where are we at? There's really, I think, just a couple of things I did want to talk about. A couple of things we'll touch on as well that we've already had going on as projects, just very quick updates on where we're at with those. So let's just get those two out of the way first, and then go from there. So the engine, I've got two engines that I had spares now. There's the original one from this, and the other one I bought. They're both in bits and ready to go for chemical cleaning and stuff. But again, it's timing, it's funds, it's all sorts of things. We will get back to those at some point, but at the moment, that's where they're at. They're just in bits, in boxes, waiting to be sent out. The other thing, I was going to have a quick view, and we'll jump to some footage of the lights. Obviously, we polished the lights. I'm not talking about the rings. We did polish the lights, and they came up really nice. Sanded them back, polished them, and as you may remember, the product I use is not. It's just a polish. It doesn't have any UV protectants in it that I'm aware of anyway. And so I always said, well, I'll do them again. So they've been done again. As I did one, I compared them. There's a very subtle difference. So I can sort of tell that over the few months of the summer, obviously the UV is still getting to them a little bit. It's very minimal. You would hardly notice it, to be fair, but I think for taking half an hour every 6 months, and probably more in summer than winter, but it's not that bad. And considering the effort you put in sanding them and etc, and getting a good product. Now, obviously there'll be people who will use like a lacquer or a clear coat over the top, and that could be a good option. I probably will try that at some point, maybe, and hopefully that'll produce a better result, but we'll see how we go. So that's that. The other thing was the light rings, and again, we'll chuck some footage over now. I think someone may have even made some comment somewhere, either on, I don't know if it was on the video itself or in a Facebook group, but the product I use, have done it on these mirrors as well, and it survived really well on these plastics. The plastic around the ring is maybe something slightly different. It's quite hard for those who've noticed it. It was quite hard to scuff up, to be fair, and I don't think the paints adhered to it quite as well. Obviously in the front, lots of things, bugs and all sorts of things hitting it, and there's little bits and pieces where the paint has come off. The comments back were, should have put a lacquer or a clear coat on it, would have helped protect it. I take that on board. I was just sort of doing it quick, I will admit, and it wasn't done maybe as well as it could have done. The paint I use is a all-in-one paint, though. It should be able to last, and as I said, it's lasted really well on here. And I've also did the gutters, and they're fine, but they don't. This doesn't come into the contact as the light rims do. So we'll see. We've still got the old set that came off here that we could do, paint those up. The view was to possibly do those in the same colour, the blue, which is another project. I won't talk about that now per se, but I won't go into detail, but quickly it was about the wheel arches. And the wheel arches, they're black at the moment. Obviously black may work quite well if you black into the skirts and into the bumpers, but these bumpers are obviously from another car, and they were all color-coded, so it looks a bit weird. I have got a can of color-coded paint, and at some point we'll take that off and try and paint that stuff, some of those bits up in the color code, and see if we can do that. If there's enough paint, we might do the light rings as well, but otherwise we might just, again, take these off or get the others, paint them black, and then put a clear coat, because I've got a clear coat for these as well. So that's that side of it. We covered the lights, rings, yeah, and the engine. So that's the updates on all the projects we were doing. And now, a couple of things that we have done. So what should we talk about? We'll talk about the wheels and tyres. We'll leave the seats till last. So wheels and tyres. These the silver wheels I have on. These are at one point I thought these were R113s. They're not. They look very similar, but they're not. These are an aftermarket wheel. They're 18-inch. When I first got them, they had cheapy tyres on them, which was okay for me because I'd been doing a lot of work on the car. I wasn't doing a lot with the car. It wasn't like racing it up and down anywhere. I wasn't doing lots of miles on it. So it was okay for a while. And then I did get some R112s because I was looking at trying to get these done up. Had the R112s done up. Unfortunately, I've scratched one, so that needs to go back. They had, now I've forgotten the tyre. So yeah, so one of them I've unfortunately scratched up, so that's going to have to go back. So I put those on, got these. Some of them were buckled, had them fixed, and they've now gone away, and they've got some Michelin PS4 S's on them. So we do. I'll show you some footage or photos I've got. Unfortunately, I didn't do a lot because again, I was just working out in the open here. There's lots of noise around here. Today is quite nice. It's a quiet day. This is the second time I've filmed this. The first lot I had helicopters flying over. I had a digger going, and I just had to throw all that content away. And the same's happened when I changed the tyres over. So I've got some images here of comparison between the two, and you know, I will in time probably do I might do a bit of a summary of what the tyres were, the differences I've felt. So far, these have gone, so we had the cheapy tyres on here, they're now the Michelin's on here. There's a definite difference, absolutely, no doubt. The handling is a bit hard to say at the moment, to be honest. The ride definitely different, shall I say, for sure. You notice it going over the bumps and things like that. These handle it a lot better than the cheapies did. There was a lot harsher going over with the cheapies. The handling, a bit, I couldn't tell you too much about it. I haven't been in the rain, and I haven't really been pushing it hard anywhere. And obviously, I'm driving on the road, so you know, I'm not going to be pushing it massively hard anyway. So we'll see. But they do feel different. I should hope so, right? For the amount of money you're paying for them. But a lot of people recommend the Michelin's, and you know, I'm pretty happy with the purchase. So they're on. I didn't do up the wheels. The wheels are still in the condition they were in, so some of them are okay, but there's definitely a few chips and marks on them. I think at the time, so my powder coater at the time didn't do silver. I noted that he does now do silver, and so you know, maybe at some point I'll get that done. We'll see. We've got the R112s, so we can always pop those back on if necessary. So the other thing, again, I'll put some images up here so you can see. When I put these tyres on, I just looked at the tyre that was on the wheel and just read that out to my guide, said this is what's on them, please replace with. And then I was talking to a colleague, friend of mine in Holland. We were just talking about tyres, and he's like, oh, there's this website in Holland, and we just, you know, put in the size of the tyre and it tells you what you want. So I thought, I'll just casually put mine in, and he's saying there's something wrong with those numbers. And we had a look, and sure enough, so these are 215 35 R18s. And he said, surely for that size wheel and tyre, it should be a 215 40. And it wasn't until I actually put the R112s and these next to each other, there's a height difference. Now, arguably, because you go wider in the wheel size, then the sidewall obviously changes, but I'm thinking that these should have been 40s. I'm not overly concerned about it at the moment. It would have given a little bit more in the suspension, which would have been nice. But hey, there you go. I spent the money now, and it'd be interesting in comments below if you could please. if you have got 18 inches on these, you know, what is the sidewall profile? I'll be very interested to see if it is a 35 or a 40. I mean, you know, 5mm may not seem like a lot, but, you know, when you're that shallow, it can mean quite a bit, could make quite a difference in the ride. But like I said, they're bought now, they're on the car. I'm not changing them, they cost too much money. It'll be a next time thing, and hopefully in a few years' time when they need replacing, I'll remember that I want 40s and not 35s. So we'll see how we go. Right, that's the wheels and tyres. What else was there? Anything on that? No, there wasn't. That was pretty much it. So, seats. What can we tell you about seats? So, I would like to insert a picture here, but the problem is I don't have one of my own, so taking something off the internet and putting there is going to be in breach of copyright, I'm sure, unless I can find one off a Sparco website or a mini website, but we'll see. So the original JCWs you could get, there was a couple of different sets of seats, I think it's the Sparcos and Recaros, that you could buy for, you know, this generation, the R53 Mini. The Sparcos were typically leather, some were heated, and for a long time they were massively expensive, and you know, people were getting them, they were putting in their cars, and you know, I think when I first saw them it was about 900 quid for a pair. They went up 1200, I saw them up 1800 once. I think the last pair I saw was around about 1200 quid for a pair, non-heated. And so, you know, at 900, 1200, someone might think that's all right, but you know, when I first started doing this mini up, 1200 was a lot of money. 1800 certainly is a lot of money. And I thought about bucket seats, you know, maybe do I put bucket seats? The original seats I had in here were heated, you know, with an airbag. So you go to bucket seats, you're getting rid of the airbag, you're getting rid of the heated, okay, is, you know, and that's a personal decision whether you want to do that or not. So it was very hard to, you know, tell exactly, because you see pictures of things, you don't know if they're comfortable, you don't know if they fit nicely. Obviously the Escort video we did, the Mark 1 Escort, the RS2000, that had some nice bucket seats in them. Very, very comfortable those, but I think they were quite expensive because I think they're Kevlar backed. Again, very, very comfortable, but when I went to Bewley Mini Day, and unfortunately I didn't go this year, seriously disappointed. I had to be with someone, so anyway, we won't go into that. Didn't go, but obviously I went the last one, and meeting a lot of people who had all the different seats, so it was quite amazing. I've been allowed to sit in a car that had the Sparcos in them, the JCW version. I've also been in a car, sit in a car with the Corbeau seats as well, the Club Sports, and you know, what else have I sat in? Well, one of the other ones I was looking at was the Recaro Grid Grid Qs. I was looking at those. I thought they were a nice looking seat, looking nice, but they have to be comfortable, right? So, what my initial thoughts, and again, this is from me sitting in it for 3 or 4 minutes, right? The Grid Qs, very nice, very firm. Very firm is not always bad. It can be quite nice, but it'll be firm. So I was thinking these could be, you know, if you're doing long trips, and the owner was saying to me as well that pretty much doesn't like doing long trips, and great for the track, but when he tracks the car, but yeah, long trips not so good. So I thought, well, okay, you could maybe buy those, rip the cushions off and get some more sponge in them if you wanted to, but there you go. That was just my humble opinion on a very short sit. The Club Sports, quite comfortable. Firm, but quite comfortable. Obviously, Corbeau don't make them anymore, so that's from what I understand and from what I've noted. So you're trying to find them second hand. Then the options, do you go for the XL or the standard size? I'm going to say I'm lucky. I'm not too massive, about a 32 inch waist, I think I am. So the standards are okay for me, I'll say. I haven't driven anywhere long distance in them, so maybe I will complain and want the XLs, but there you go. Then the Sparcos, very, very firm. And again, even just sitting in for a little while, I didn't feel comfortable in them. Talking to the owner, same sort of thing. Loves the seats, loves the look, not necessarily the greatest seat. Now, again, some people may like them. Some people may like them that way. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't take my advice and just not buy them. You may, find that they are an amazing seat. So, but just for me personally, they weren't quite what I wanted. So it's been a long search. Deciding probably to go for some Corbeau Club Sports, looking around, missed a few auctions that came up. And as you're looking for seats, you start seeing other seats. Like I was looking at the Grid Qs, I was looking at some other Recaros as well, some Revs and some Evos, and just trying to see which ones would be the nicest. And and as you go through those sets, you start seeing things like the Recaro CSs, right? So also the seats that you see in the Vauxhall VXR. There's a couple of different versions of those. So I've looked at those as well. Nearly bought a set of those that were heated as well, which would have been nice. But you then hear someone that's had a pain fitting them, and second thoughts and all that sort of thing. But anyway, to try and cut a long story short, no, that's not possible. Where do we get to? Because I kept missing auctions, I started looking at the CS seats, and seriously. And it got to the point where there were some cloth ones, they were damaged, they would need repair, so no problem. I thought, well, I can get them repaired, so I talked to people about repairing them. Then I thought, well, if we're going to repair them, maybe I could make them individualize them somehow by changing part of the seat or do something. But every time you tried a different avenue, it just started getting ridiculously expensive. I'd be up like $3-4 grand, and then you're like, well, at that rate, you might as well buy new ones, because new ones will cost you. One thing with the Recaro CSs, secondhand, I've yet to find a set which have the airbag and the heated seat in it. You can find them with heated seat, but they don't have the airbag. You can find them with the airbag, but they don't have the heated seat. Now, I'm sure they're out there, just in the time I hadn't found any. And as I keep looking, the price, you start accepting that it's going to cost you a little bit more. I almost got to the point where I did think, stuff this, I'm just going to buy some new ones, but I just couldn't bring myself to spending that much money. You'd pretty much double the value of this car, almost by doing it. So, not wanting to give up completely, the R56, was it the GP or the JCW? They actually put some Recaro CSs in those, and obviously with the emblem on them. And there was a pair that came up, unbelievably. I was literally on the way going on holiday and catching the train across to France. And I couldn't contact the guy. I was trying so hard to get hold of the guy. I don't know, maybe signal issues or something. I don't know what it was, but of course, and they were a decent price. But by the time I did manage to get hold, which was a few days later, obviously they'd gone, because they're rare as hen's teeth, and really nice seat. Anyway, kept looking. This story's not getting shorter, is it? The fact of the matter is, as you can tell, I got some. So I did look around. I found a pair on eBay. It was these ones. The guy had, they're on auction or send me an offer. Unfortunately, for some reason, the offer bit wasn't working. So I went for the bid process and got them for slightly less than I first expected. These have come out of a Renault. They came with all of the mounting hardware for the Renault, which has all been taken off. Some of it's been cut off, needed to be cut off, and it'll probably end up going in scrap, to be honest. I may try and put them on eBay and see if anyone wants them. Don't know what for, put them up for an auction. But I have cut certain parts of them to make certain bits fit. Now, I will put some footage over this as I've been talking. There isn't a lot. Now, people are going to hate me for this, and I can only apologise now. But the challenge here was this. I don't have a workshop. I had to borrow a workshop. There was welding involved. and some engineering thought process involved. So I was using an engineer's workshop who's a friend of mine, and I didn't have the time, I didn't want to waste his time while I set up all the cameras, do something, find it didn't work, please do it again, and not only that, he didn't want to be on camera. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of footage of what happened. What I can try and do is talk through some of it, but basically at the end of the day, these, and I tried to keep this, I really wanted to, these seats came with obviously the rails for the Renault. That also came with an adjuster to lift the seat up and down on both sides, whereas this car, it only had it on, the original seats only had it on the drivers. And I wanted to try and keep that, but when they went in the car, they were just too high. And even now, to be honest, I would prefer them to be just a little bit lower than they are. What we ended up doing is he had some stainless steel L brackets, so we basically took everything else off that we could, and down to a point where we could bolt the L bracket onto the bracket here. And then with the L bracket, it adjusted because the width was slightly different between the rails and the floor. I have used the rails, the old rails from the Mini, and obviously I don't know if you can see, the seat belt connectors are off the old Mini. As part of that process to get the driver's side, I had to cut the frame on the driver's seat because the way it was attached. And what else have I done? That's most of it, but basically you've got the L brackets are on, they're bolted, they're welded at one end where there was no way of bolting it, so that's been welded, but the other ends is bolted, and then it's bolted down using exactly the same holes into the rails as the original Mini seat. That's got them in. What I'm considering is, because they are still a little bit high, I will probably look at investing in the proper Recaro R53 brackets. So that means the whole seat bracket, all the metalwork comes off the seat, and then you put the proper bracket on. I need to investigate A, how and where I can get them from, B, how much of a difference is there, and then anything else I need to worry about with those. At the time, I didn't want to spend the extra money. I think it's something like around about 300 quid more to get those. So in time I could probably do that, but just for now, no. So that put them in here, which is great. The next challenge, before we go on with that, the next part in the frame, for some people know, these things, and with the Mini, there's a handle to bring the seat forward. I'll just show you. And typically what happens is there's a cable that goes down to the rail, which actually pops up the rail so that the whole seat slides forwards at the same time. So I didn't connect it. It's fairly similar in the way it operates, but the cabling and the cabling looping system is different. And then I thought, well, there's no need to get into the back, because I don't have a seat there, and you can get in from the boot. So what I've done is just left that cable off. So now the seat comes forward like that, and that's it, and it just goes back in place. So we've left that disconnected. So that was a seat physically in place. With these these seat belts, they have a pre-tensioner on them, so that's why I've used these. The units that came with this, I don't know if this would have clipped into it, but there was no pre-tensioner, and obviously you don't connect the pre-tensioner, then you'll have your airbag light and issues with that. So you need to have those in the car. Obviously, big warning, obviously if you're doing anything on these seats in these cars, disconnect the battery so that you don't have problems with your ABS system. ABS system? What am I talking about? Airbag system, right? Not your braking system, your airbag safety system. Right, good. So that's with that, and also this airbag here. So there's an airbag here on the side. This is a 3-pin system. I did as much investigation as I could. I sent some notes off to Recaro, who were quite helpful, sending me some diagrams. It didn't completely help, but it gave me a bit more of an idea of what was going on with these. Trawled the internet, found a couple of responses on what to do, and I will again hopefully show you some images here, but basically you've got on the seat itself there's 3 wires. There's your yellow, and I think there was a blue, or yellow and brown, yellow and blue, and then in the car I think it's yellow and brown. On the seat as well there's a thicker brown wire, which is effectively an earthing wire. I haven't done anything with the earthing wire itself because in the car it's a 2-wire system. Now I am considering whether I do run an earth as well up to that cable, but at the moment what it is I basically put yellow from here into yellow in the car, and then the blue one from the seat into the brown one in the car, and I'll show you that because I've got this slight doubt that I got the colours around the wrong way, but excuse me, but I'll show you an image of it and you'll see what it's like. What I've done is also the connector on this was quite different, so luckily I've got a parts car over there, so we stole the connectors off that and joined them up, so it's just a nice simple click in place. Obviously with the seatbelt clips, that comes with its cable. I just mounted it in, and again it just clipped in, so no problem. Obviously there's no heated seat in this at the moment. I can get a heated pad that will go in here, and I've still got all the wiring in here for it. But again, we'll see in time as to whether I go, what do I do with that. Excuse me. Now, what I also did, though, just to end this, is I also did find a pair of Club Sports for sale, and at a good price. So I actually have a pair of those as well. They are the standard version, they're not the XL version. I think the XL versions go like hotcakes because everyone wants them. So I have sat in one. It is hugging, shall we call it. It is, for me, hugging. I will have no idea and cannot tell you whether it's going to be a comfortable seat or not, because they're not in the car. And I'm not going to drive in them at that moment. But I have sat in them. They are comfortable to sit in, for sure. And who knows, we'll see. I still have lots of ideas about future projects. But at the moment, like I said, until I get somewhere to do stuff, and things get a little bit better, unfortunately it'll be little projects from here on in. So that's where we're at. To wrap up the seats, these seats are stunning. Well worth the patience and time if you've got the funds and if you've got the time to wait for a good deal on these seats. They are amazing. I have done a couple of moderately long trips in these, in the car for an hour and a half. Absolutely no problem. Lovely seats. They are firm. They are. So these are the Recaro CS seats. There's a Recaro CS, is it sports seat, which for some reason has a lower bolster here on the side, which for some people might be a little bit nicer because it's a lot easier to get in and out. These seats do wear here quite a lot because you're always getting a leg over and rubbing over these quite a bit, and this is a part that will fail in the material, and a lot of the cloth seats I was looking at, this is where they were wearing, and some of the cloth seats I was looking at all out of Renault's where they had holes here, and the price of buying a set of those with the hole in it was pretty much the price I paid for these. So again, this is a good deal. As you can see from the seating position, it's not too bad. Still plenty of room above my head, but from the driver's perspective, I just seem to remember it being just a little bit lower, like I mentioned. So this is plastic cover, is obviously from the McGann. I've trimmed it, cut it down. As you can see, there's a hole in the side here. That's where the adjuster was. And as you can see, if that for that to have been operational, the seat would have been up here. This for the seat was way up here, and the top of the seat here was almost literally touching the top of the roof. And you know, as soon as I sat in, I just thought, this is wrong. It would have been nice to have had all the functionality, but it just didn't feel right. So there you go. Okay, right. That's the update for the moment, and again, all I can do is apologize for the lack of videos. It is what it is, and I can only apologize. I'd love to say that you're going to get lots more from here on in, and I will continue to try, but I'm not going to promise anything right now. But there's plenty of stuff that I want to get done, and hopefully we'll get a chance to do it. Like I said, I do want to paint these bits. My challenge at the moment is just where am I going to do it? I don't want to have to do it outside, but I don't really have anywhere to do it inside at the moment. So we'll see. There is a barn here that I can use, but there's no flooring in it at the moment, and because it's very, very dry at the moment, it just gets dusty. Like I washed this car and my friend's car over here the other day, and then the wind blew and dust just went all over it, and I was just like, what a waste of time. So I don't want to prepare everything, start putting paint on, and then have something like that happen. That's just going to annoy me. So guys, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it's been a long time, and appreciate your patience. Hopefully it won't be quite as long to the next one, but at the moment I can't guarantee what you're going to get. So thanks for sticking with me, and take care for now. We'll see you in the next one.